Yeah, I don't ask for nothing but the sunshine. The race is going one day to blind my eyes, and birds fly around like you can move from wind, fly until they find the place where you have been. Ask for the direction and it's back in time. The workaholics they will say you die, but knowing you'd come back, children await you. She opened them doors to make them faithful. Nightmares vanish, dreams come true. It's what they say every time they're seeing you. Time starts to tick.
Welcome to the Exam Photography and welcome to the Canon Eos RP long-term review. I bought this lens around 1.5 years ago in May 2019, and now is 4th of January 2021, beginning of the year, and I thought it's a nice time to take another look to the Eos RP. Now as the R5 and R6 are out there, and the lens or the camera got a price reduction to $999. So I'm filming this with the RP right now. I will switch, but I want to show you the AF of the dual pixel autofocus system. So I'm having now the black and white picture style, which is the monochrome picture style. So I leave the color as it is straight from the camera, so you can see how the image looks like without any editing done. So this is the black and white from the camera. I don't edit anything. And you see the autofocus. I'm shooting 20mm f2.8, and if I get closer, the autofocus should get to my eye. And if I get further away, the autofocus should catch up. Now I've experienced the Eos R, RP, R5 and R6, and the dual pixel of the Eos RP is on the same level as all the other cameras, even though the R5 and R6 have the dual pixel AF version 2. In reality, I don't see any difference in it from my personal experience shooting with all these 4 cameras. Taking a look at all these 4 cameras, the Eos R, RP, R5 and R6, we have 4 different megapixel counts. We have the 20 megapixel from the R6, the 26 megapixel from this RP, the 30 megapixel from the R, and the 45 megapixel from the R5. And taking a look at all these cameras, there's the question, which one is the right for me? So in this review we will take a look at this question, and I try to answer this for this, who is this camera and for who it is not. And I will give you many images. My reviews always speak through the images I take, and so I believe more in showing the images than to talk. But of course talking is part of a review, so focus more on the images and second priority on the words. So in my experience, the Eos RP is a really great camera for a certain kind of person, especially young people, people who don't have that much money. $999 now for this full frame camera with 4K video functions and great autofocus in video and in photography mode. That is a really great entry into photography. Now this is a really small camera. It weighs under 500 grams. So this is really great for small people or young people. I see this would be the perfect camera for my child. Imagine a child getting 7-8 years old, and you give that person a small camera. Imagine where that person might be with 12-13 years. That is a camera that I would give my son, because it's small, it's lightweight, he can handle it, and put together with the 40mm 2.8 pancake lens or 50mm 1.8 or 20mm like I use right now. It's a great combination for people who don't like big and heavy, who want small and lightweight. And with 485 grams, this is really a lightweight camera and really small, so it's also nice for women, for all the influencer girls who like Instagram and all the girls who like to do a YouTube channel about makeup or clothing. I think this is a nice camera. Back in the days, 10 years ago, in photography it was really important to show up big and heavy, like big cameras, big lenses, and that presented quality. I don't think that is the case anymore. I never felt that way, never. And I don't think people who start out now like that route. I think people now move much more. I'm now in Spain over Christmas and New Year's Eve visiting family, so the world is moving more. Even in the pandemic, right now it's not moving, but in general over the last years people were moving much more. It's much cheaper and it's more common to get to know the world. And so being on the road is really nice to have a small light camera that can handle, in this case, all 3 mounts. We have EF camera lenses that I can put on here. I have a lot of EF lenses. I have the have the 20 millimeter, the 24 1.4, 35 1.4, 50 1.2, 50 1.8, 40 millimeter 2.8, 85 1.2, 100 2.8 macro lens, 135 2.0 and 200 2.8. These lenses are all I have. I don't have any RF lenses, and all these EF lenses work really great on this camera. So you can really, without any compromise, you can use any lens you have for the EF system on the Eos RP with the adapter that comes with the camera. You also can use the EFS lenses, which is for the crop cameras. Like if you have an 80D or 90D, you don't need that camera anymore when you get the RP, because that RP will replace the 80D and 90D in terms of you can put the lenses on this camera. I can film myself with the 10 to 80 millimeter zoom lens. I don't need to have my APS-C camera with me. And I can use the RF mount. So I have 3 different mounts in all one camera: EF, EFS and RF. What I really like about this camera is small, it's lightweight, it's really easy to enter. So it's $999 now, so it's a very low entrance. So especially for students, people who don't have much money, when you buy into a full frame camera, you also need lenses. So it's not just the camera. And being able to afford it with this model is really a nice way to enter the photography world on a professional level. Now, you may say this is not a professional camera, it's an entry-level camera. I see this from the image quality on a very high level. I don't see much difference between this and any other camera I've used. Now, from the physical point, is a small camera. I find it's a little bit too small. When you add a bigger lens, I have here the 100 millimeter macro lens, I have the 200 2.8. When you put that on this camera, everything gets a little bit front heavy, especially with the adapter, which makes any lens longer. And so it's, for me, not the best form factor. I find the Eos R is much better, the R5 and R6 are much better, so it's not the best from the feeling side, and this is important. Feeling is a really big thing in photography. I want to pick up the camera, I want to like to use it. When you ever picked up a Leica and tried it, Leica is all about experience, and so having a camera that wants to be picked up and that give you the feeling you want to go out and shoot, I don't think the RP can give that to me. But the RP is light and small, and that is really nice on days like this where I walk a lot and I'm traveling kind of all the way. I'm walking around alone, so there's no one with me now. And when I do this, and I do this to take pictures, I really value small and lightweight. I don't want to have heavy cameras. You saw the 5DSR that I just picked up. So I have a couple of cameras with me right now. I have a microphone up here, I have a tripod here. I travel heavy now, and this is really something that can really make your day or break your day. So a small lightweight camera, this is where this camera actually shines, and it's actually the lightest and smallest full frame camera ever made until the point of production, and actually also the cheapest, looking at the entry price point. Okay, I think let's go down to the beach here. Let me just show you another feature. So I want to start off the video by doing this vlogging style to show you can vlog with this camera really well, and the autofocus works really well, and you can tap on the screen and then you can focus on the background on the beach, or I can click on my face and you see my eyes. I'm not looking into the camera, I'm looking next to the camera, because there's the flip out screen, and the flip out screen lets me always see whether I'm too bright and I have to adapt the settings, whether my hands have shadows in my face. I see all this on the flip out screen, and not many full frame cameras have that. Especially not when this camera came out, 2019. There were not many cameras other than Canon cameras that could do this. Now the Sony a7S III can do this, Fuji X-T4 can do this, but it's really valuable when you film yourself like this, or you take a selfie like this. I take many self-portraits. I want to see myself. I look into the camera, but I know on the next to it I can see the screen. Is the focus on the water in the background, or is actually my face in focus? Because now the water is in background, and I see it on the flip out screen. If I click on my face now, my face is in focus, and not all cameras have touch screen. This camera has a really great touch screen. I can do everything here. I can go from f2.8 to f7.1. I can go from 1/1000th of a second to, let's go to 1/200th of a second. I can go from ISO 100, I can go to ISO 200, all within the touch screen without ever having to change my setup. I can do this all while I'm filming. And this is really incredible for somebody who likes to film and do these vlogging styles that I do. Now let's go down to the beach here, and now let's choose a picture style where you actually see color. And let me talk a little bit more about the EOS RP. So let's take a look at the EOS RP. I have it here in my hand on a tripod. And we are now going to take a look at the images straight in camera. So I like to shoot black and white images, which is the JPEG setting. And I used, when we go to the portrait session in a moment, I used the 200mm lens most of the time with this camera. I have three cameras here. I have the 5DSR, the 5D, the 100mm macro lens, the 200mm 2.8 lens, the 40mm 2.8 pancake lens, and the 20mm wide angle lens. But here I had, in the images we will take a look at, I mostly used the 200mm lens at f2.8. So here are some shots just from the water side. I want to show you here, first off, a little bit how the EOS RP takes JPEG images, which I think when you go into monochrome, which is the picture style, let me just get back to, sorry. The monochrome pictures, I really like how the images turn out. You see, you can go on the touch screen, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. And you also have here a button where you can zoom out and zoom in. And you see the sharpness here just when you look how fine this looks. And when we click on info, you see the settings, ISO 50, f2.8. And I really like the black and white look. So when I shoot, I usually have the JPEGs in monochrome, which is the picture style. And here, all the images I shot using face detection. And these images that we look at now were all shot with the 200mm at f2.8. You see it down here, f2.8, 1/4000, ISO 50, which is the maximum setting. So there you cannot get faster than 1/4000. I cannot get lower than ISO 50, and I cannot open the aperture more than f2.8. So I'm at the maximum, and this is what I like the look of the blurry background. And this is all unedited straight from the camera. We shoot against the sun, we shoot with the sun, and when we zoom in to these images, this is just a selection I did in camera, a quick selection. So you just get an idea of how well the face detection works. And I took all these images pretty quickly. So this is not actually a best of selection, it's just any selection to when you take a look at the number of images we have here, it's 2000. See it up left. Let me see where is it. So you see here 2200 images. We don't go through all 2000. I just have a selection here so you get a variety of different scenarios. And these are all taken with the 200mm lens. And when we zoom in, you can see how really on point these images are and how sharp the images look. So working with the RP, I think is really nice. You have the touch function here. I can do everything here on the touch actually. I can get back here. I can swipe through. I can double click to zoom in. I just use these buttons here so my hands are not in the frame that much. And the autofocus accuracy is with any lens that has autofocus. The 85 1.2, the 50 1.2, they work all phenomenally well on the RP with the adapter. And it works really just like on a native camera. I've tried the RF lenses, they are great, but the EF lenses are as good, I think, with the adapter. So there's no need to sell all your EF lenses if you have them. I have many EF lenses and I still buy new ones. Actually, the two lenses that I have here, the 100mm I just bought 2 weeks ago, and the 200mm I bought 5 weeks ago. And there is also no equivalent within the RF mount, like a 100mm macro lens and 200 EF 2.8. There is none of that in the RF line, and if they were, they probably would be more expensive than what I paid for it. Okay, so you see how really nice these images look. I shoot all these images manually, so there's no auto ISO, there's no auto function. The settings are mostly the same. I mostly shoot at f2.8. You see here is f3.2, but I mostly shoot at 2.8. ISO 50 all the time. I wrote an ebook about getting nice images in camera, so it doesn't matter if I choose black and white or color. I really don't like the way the EOS RP shows color on the screen. The R and the RP both really have a really bad way of presenting color on the screen, and the monochrome looks phenomenal, and the JPEGs also look phenomenal. There's really no need to edit these images. I can keep them as they are, but the color profile, how the screen of the camera presents color, I think is really not so nice. And it's with the R as well, the RP as well. It is not like the 6D Mark II. It's not on the R5. It's not on the R6. On the R5 and the R6, you can actually change how the camera shows color, if you want it warm or cold. Okay, that was it from Spain. We took these images yesterday, and so I thought, let me show you how it looks like straight from the camera. You see it down here. I took some images also at ISO 40,000, 50,000, 100,000. You see it down here. We will take a look at that in Lightroom to see how is the image quality at ISO 40,000, ISO 30,000, 12,000, 6,000, and so on. So, I'm now at the beach. You see background is in focus. My face is blurry. I just tap on my face and then my eye will be in focus. There it is. I can get closer or further away, and my eye will still be in focus if I get further away. So if I go away or if I come closer, I don't have to do anything. The camera focuses automatically on my face. Look at the blurriness of the background. That changes. The further I go away, the clearer it will be. Now I try to be close to the camera because there's wind and there's the beach and the water, and so you can hear me. I'm standing relatively close to the camera, but you see the autofocus works really great with any autofocus lens. It doesn't need to be Canon, it can be Sigma, Tamron, whatever. The autofocus system is really phenomenal in video and photography mode. And now you see the benefit from the flip out screen and the autofocus with face detection that automatically follows my eye depending on if I get closer or further away. I can also set the speed. Do I want it to change instantly or do I want it to be smooth? Because you see if I go further away, it takes a second, but you can change that in the settings as well. Now, when I now take this package of features, flip out screen, autofocus with face detection, touch function, what I can do now is I can take pictures of myself. So let me show you some videos where I photograph myself, actually right here on the beach, just another day with the EOS RP with a variety of lenses. And it's so great, I can even take pictures of myself with the 200mm lens. So I had the 200-2.8 on and I had to go really far away. But with the flip out screen next to the camera, I actually could see if my head is in the frame or not. So I can then adapt, so I can have my face in the image. Some of the images where I photograph myself, you see I'm not standing straight, I'm kind of kneeling down a little bit because I want my face to be in the image and not just my mouth. And I get all of that with the flip out screen. Now all the other cameras that I mentioned earlier, R5, R6, EOS R, they all have that flip out screen, that great autofocus, that tracking, 4K features. The EOS RP is the least powerful camera, but if you are into photography, the EOS RP is a great option. Now let's take a look at the settings. We have the 26 megapixel, which I think is a really great size for kind of everything, unless you want to do real big prints. Unless you want to do real big prints, you should maybe get the R5 or 5 DSR or the R with 30 megapixel. But for kind of everything else, 26 megapixel is good enough. 4 to 5 frames per second, that is relatively slow, but the faster the camera is, the more work you have after the shoot to select the images you like. The more you take, the more you have to delete afterwards. So 4 to 5 images is really great for what I do, which is photographing people. If you photograph the Formula 1, 4 to 5 images per second is not enough. But for most stuff, besides sport, 4 to 5 is actually, I think, really enough. Otherwise it will just be too many images that look the same. We have an ISO range from 100 to 40,000, and then we can expand it from ISO 50 to 102,000. And I will take some shots here. I actually already took some shots here with all ISO settings, and we will go into Lightroom and see how good can we edit ISO 40,000, 100,000, how good can we edit that, how good is the image quality when we zoom into the image. I can show you that better in Lightroom at the end of the video than now just showing some images. We will go into detail there. Okay, what else do we have? Flip out screen, touch screen, autofocus. Now video, this camera is not really for video. If you want to go into professional video or hybrid video and photography, the Eos R, R5 and R6 are way better options. If you do something like I do, like YouTube videos, you photograph or film your child or family stuff or small clips, the image quality is great, and you can get great results, but the video functions are limited. Let me give you an example. You can use EFS lenses. I have a 10 to 80mm super wide angle zoom lens, which is great. I can put this on here and take pictures, which is great, but if I want to film, I can do this in 720p, which is really low resolution. Then I have the great autofocus that I have right now. Or I can go to 4K, then I have a really bad autofocus, which is so bad that manual focus is much better. And 1080p is not available, so I cannot film in full frame, in full HD. I only can 4K without autofocus at all, or 720p, which is really low resolution, but then with the great autofocus you see right now. So if you have a lot of EFS lenses, then this is really not the best choice for you. If you do something like I do, like YouTube videos, film yourself, you see I will put some videos here where I filmed myself, and I will show you the video as I took it without any editing to it, so you can see the image quality. I shot many in black and white, but you get an idea of what you can get out of this. Okay, so what I do with this camera, what I love to do is taking pictures of myself. I started a project where I photographed the photographer, because the photographer is the person who usually is never in an image, and he's the person who values photography most, and as he's the one who puts his whole life into it.
Yeah, I don't ask for nothing but the sunshine. The race is going one day to blind my eyes, and birds fly around like you can move from wind, fly until they find the place where you have been. Ask for the direction and it's back in time. The workaholics say to say you died, but knowing you'd come back, children awaits you. She open them doors to make them faithful. Nightmares vanish, dreams come true. It's what they say every time they're seeking you. Time starts to tick, air starts to breathe. I wonder what means the day to me. I never thought about waking up in dreams. Never thought about being me. I never thought about just breaking it up. I'm breaking it stuff, I'm breaking it up.
Another day is born.
Come and wake me up.
Another day is born.
Come and wake me up.
Another day is born.
Come and take me up.
Another day is born.
Come and wake me up. Let them trees grow tall and the seasons go by while you won't leave at all. You're the hope and the strength they'll let her wake up to reach and one life to spend. You count our days, you count our time till then. It's you from the tummy we are born in until the day we end. Can't be bought, can't be taken. Give us light that got us through our happy ending. And each second we're living and each breath we are breathing is cause of you. But they cause you're not leaving, and if you come back just some hours later, the first thing I see in the morning when I wake up.
Another day is born.
And so I really value having images of myself. To get images of myself, I use the RP on a tripod, a remote control, and the great autofocus with the flip out screen, so I can see am I in focus or not. And this works so great with all lenses. I tried all lenses that I have, and I show you an image here of the lenses I got. And they all work great on the RP, and the autofocus is always on point, even 85 1.2 at f1.2, even 50 1.2 at f1.2. All lenses work phenomenally well that I have, which is really great because it's an RF mount camera, but I don't have any RF mount lenses because the EF lenses work so great with this adapter that I don't need to have the RF lenses. So when I take a look at how many shots I've taken with this camera, it's probably around 200,000, maybe a little bit less. And you see down there the life cycle is 100,000. Now in my experience, this life cycle doesn't really mean much. I think it's way more for the insurance. So if you get to under 100,000 and the camera fails, Canon is kind of in charge. If you're at 200,000 like I am and then the camera fails, that's kind of to be expected. But in my experience, I can take many more images with this camera than just 200,000 and way more than 100,000, which is the life cycle. So don't take this as marked in stone. This is really, I think I can get to 300,000 with this camera before I will get into any trouble, and I am really hard on my equipment usually. So image quality is very important. So what I want to do now is I took some images here in Spain on the beach, and I want to show you the images straight in camera. So I filmed the screen and we go through the images so you can really see how the images look like in terms of autofocus, in terms of JPEG files. Now the one thing that I really don't like about the RP is the way it presents the JPEG files on the screen. Now the screen, if I like warm images, warm color. And if I do it in camera, on the screen it looks really not so great. It looks like in HDR mode, so the shadows are a little bit higher and it doesn't look so good. So I usually shoot in black and white monochrome, the JPEG files. And the black and white picture style is so great on this camera. I can shoot black and white all day and the images look great straight from the camera. You will see right now in the video, I filmed the camera after I photographed myself and my girlfriend, and the black and white images look so great in camera that I probably couldn't get them as good if I tried to edit them this way when I use the color raw files. So in terms of editing, I think you can get really away with everything. If I shoot an image and it's too dark, I can brighten it up. There are many reviews that talk negative about the sensor and dynamic range, which I think is not really the case. I've never had any problems with the dynamic range and the editing capabilities. I think it's really phenomenal. I don't see any difference in real life experience, like photographing a wedding or my street photography that I do, or photographing my girlfriends. I don't see any difference using the Eos R, the RP, the R5 and R6. I know these all are different cameras with different resolutions. There is a difference in resolution, but the image looks pretty much the same from all these cameras. I say this to those who can't afford the R5 but want the R5 and don't want the RP because they think it's not good enough. To me the RP is really, really good enough. There are just a few downfalls with the RP. And the one is the video features are kind of limited. There's also a crop in video if you go to 4K. But as I'm not really into video so much, just for YouTube stuff, but that's not really video, that's not cinematography. Because I'm not really much into video, I won't go into details so much about video. There are other people who do it much better. Now one thing that I really don't like about the RP is the battery life. When you look at the 5DS R that I have here, the 60, 60 Mark II, Eos R, R5, R6, they all share the same battery. But the RP has a smaller battery, a really small battery, and it dies very quickly. I've made many videos like this one where while I'm filming, the battery or the camera shut down entirely. There is no warning like change battery soon. It just says change battery and it's done. And the battery on the screen, you can't really see the percentage. On all the other cameras that I've just mentioned, you can see the percentage, how much battery you have left. 13%, 65%, and you got an idea of how much you can still shoot. The RP doesn't have that. It just has 3 parts, which is like full, medium, and soon empty. And the battery is small. This is the reason why the camera can be so small, but it's also not powerful, and this is a really downside. Now usually I don't really care much about battery life because most of the cameras I have great battery life, and so I don't ever think about it. The only moment I think about battery life is when I have a camera that actually just dies pretty often, and the RP is a camera that I've had on weddings, and it actually died in the most important moments. And as I go to weddings with 2 cameras at the same time, I could always get the other camera up and photograph the moment. But the RP let me down in many moments just for the battery. And so just for the battery, I'd rather choose the 60 Mark II or the Eos R from the feeling standpoint. So this is a really big down point which can be overlooked easily, but in real life it's a really big problem. So I think that's the biggest downfall, is the battery life. The other thing is that the images on screen don't look as great as they do on the computer screen. So the screen, for whatever reason, on the R and RP, I really don't like the colors, so I shoot mostly in black and white, which is the monochrome picture style. Okay, I also believe that a camera review has to live off images. So I want to show you many images taken here in Spain, taken in other places, of people, of myself with the portraits of my son running around, so you can see is 4 to 5 frames per second enough. And I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm now at around 200,000 shots, more or less, and I thought it's a great moment to take another look onto this camera. And especially now with the price reduced to 999 euros or dollars, I think it's a great option for many people who don't have the big money for the R5, but who want the image quality of the R5, kind of, without the resolution, but the general image look. And the RP, I think, is a great option for this. You got the RF mount, the EF lenses work with adapter, the EFS lenses work with the same adapter. You got the touch screen, you got the face recognition in video and photo. You got 4K limited. You got great 1080p like you see right now filmed. You got a small body, which I think is really important. A really great camera for women and small, like young people. This is a camera that I would give my son when he's 5 or 6. And just let him have it with this lens on it, the 40mm 2.8. I'll show you some images here. It's a really small combo that weighs 700 grams. The lens is 110 grams and the camera is 485 grams, so it's under 700 grams, which I think is really a great walk-around camera. So I hope you have a really nice 2021. It's all in our hands, and depending on what we do with it, we can form the 2021 into beautiful images, I believe. And so let's all be positive, use our cameras to capture the beautiful moments of life and focus on the good things, and have a nice 2021.
You and me,
Like the king and the queen, living more than just life and above the dream.
you and me,
Build up the love for lifetime, we're above the skyline, angels fly beside us.
you and me,
Went from boy and girl to wife and husband, finally life became
you
fantastic.
and me,
The lovers couples can meth with, take love like addicts. Without you I panic, without you I couldn't handle this stuff in my heart. Cause I had to separate those who fuck and who love. Cause most smiles ain't real, last words get lost. And you have found the love I want, and it's worth all costs.
you and me,
Like the king and queen, living more than just life and above the dream.
you and me,
Like the prince and the princess, and we love each other even though we've been dressed.
you and me,
Like the husband and the wife, making life so precious without money, but a child.
you and me,
The lovers couples can meth with, take love like addicts. Without you I'll panic.
the king for my kingdom, the prince for my bed. This is what I found in you, the father for my child, the boy in my past is you.
Alright, now close my eyes and remember you. When you're gone I have to depend on you. So when you leave I'm left with just some of your pictures, but I can't talk to them, neither squid listen like I did, yeah, I'm the baby, you're my mother beside me. Protect me at night, even in my dreams you guide me. Life was nothing until you gave sense to it, and as long as we're together there's no end to it. Now I love you, from the bottom of my heart I say I love you, from the bottom of my.
You and me,
Like the king and the queen, living more than just life and above a dream.
you and me,
Like the prince and the princess, and we love each other even though we've been
you
dressed.
and me,
Like the husband and the wife, making life so precious without money, about a child.
you and me.
Like the boy and the girl, live and enjoy the new world, and nothing else first but you.
I love you, I love you, I love you, love you, I love you, I love you. The king for my kingdom, the prince for my bed. This is what I found in you. The father for my child, the boy in my past is you.
When we got ourselves, you're the world don't matter. Doing work on leisure without a goal, there's no pleasure.
I love you from the bottom of my.
Go from life till death, until the time will rest. I'll be forever hanging at your chest.
I love you from the bottom of my heart. You and me,
Like the king and the queen, living more than just life and above a dream.
you and me,
Like the prince and the princess, and we love each other even though we've been
you
dressed.
and me,
Like the husband and the wife, making life so precious without money, about a child.
you and me.
Like the boy and the girl, live and enjoy the new world, and nothing else first but
I
you.
love you from the bottom of my heart.
You look at me like I was a picture, but I can figure it out. Like glasses between us, I can't be breaking it down. My fist in the chair, sometimes glass breaks by a kiss of air. I never noticed this mistress girl. I like to hold my mouth shut by your hand before she started to let some shots burst. I'm sad, but she's crying. I'm there, but she denies me. I wanna hug her, she doesn't even want me beside it. No, something ain't right here. But the man did it right, didn't he? I'm not here of duty, but willingly. And sometimes your words are killing me. My love imprisons me, and I can't respond. Think more I'm dumb than these words be wrong. And I love you ain't enough. I need you ain't that tough. I want you, don't speak love. Words are leaving me. Still think that my girl's mistreating me, and she hates me any moment because I believe in me. When I speak truth, she think that I'm not meaning it, and I've fed you with love. Every night you give me the feeling like you go to bed with a slot. No matter what you say, girl, I can't say about this. Why my mind's overfilled, but I can't tell the stuff. Fuck. Every kiss, every touch, every smile, every itch, every cut, every cry, we built up and destroyed from the girl and the boy who we were. We're standing on the bridge ready to turn. All the hits, all the flowers and goodbyes, all the wishes that we've had deep inside, we've built up and destroyed from the girl and the boy who we were. And the bridge is now ready to burn. Sometimes it feels like my love is a foreigner. Don't speak my language, and for that she is glorious. Treat me like my words were just nothing to listen to, and sleep in my bed, but act like there's nothing I'm giving you. Leave the house with at least a kiss or a smile, like you've been glad to leave me. Spend your time without me. No, I'm left alone here, but you come home. But somehow I then even feel more lonely. Can't remember why we came together, and find a reason why we stay together. I asked you sometime, but you just showed it back. Broke the glass, I try to fix it. Use my feelings for glue when I finally did it. But you prefer hatred to love and fist to hands. Sometimes it feels like you want me to bitch instead of your man. It just feels like a